Yo, what's up, guys? My name is Oliver Hayes from Buff Stampede alongside Leo Rivera and Liam Howard, Scobo Sports members that you guys all know and love. And we are here wrapping up the first day of the Big 12 tournament. Of course, we came here to see number 16 Colorado take on the number 9 TCU Horned Frogs. And we saw a close dub in that one. We thought it was going to be a big blowout, but Colorado likes to scare us down the stretch as we know. We've seen a lot of that this season, but What were some of your big takeaways from this game? I guess starting with you, Leo.
I think first things foremost, Colorado shot the three ball effectively, and that was probably the biggest thing that stood out. Andre Yakumovsky had a fantastic performance to open that second half, and the momentum really helped carry CU towards the end of that game. Even when things got close, they were able to hold on.
Yeah, it was only a 1 point. TCU actually led at the half by 1 point before Yakumovsky hit 4 threes in the second half. He scored 14 of his 18. He had a game-high 18 points. 14 of those came in the second half. But, Liam, what did you take away from that contest?
Yeah, offense was great, but you also got to look at the defense. The offense wasn't able to get a lot of rebounds, but the defense was playing physical. They were not allowing very many open shots, high percentage shots for TCU the entire game, and it really eliminated shots at all levels of the court. And them not being able to generate any offense ultimately was what led CU to being able to come back into that game in the end.
Yeah, the big thing, though, is that CU was not able to rebound. They gave up 15 offensive rebounds in that first half, along with giving away 10 turnovers. And they ultimately gave up 22 offensive rebounds in that game, leading to a bunch more field goal attempts for TCU, making this a much closer game than we expected. Because TCU went on a quick 10-0 run down the stretch, led by their leading scorer on the year, Noah Reynolds. He had 17 in that game. But Colorado was able to edge it out. Javon Ruffin had some clutch free throws down the stretch. And so they're advancing to play the number 8 seed West Virginia Mountaineers. But we'll get to that in a second. We'll talk about the other Big 12 games that we saw. We started off with Cincinnati versus Oklahoma State after Colorado versus TCU. We saw, oh my goodness, you have to remind me. Kansas State versus Arizona State, and then wrapped it up with Utah versus UCF. So I was wondering which two teams were the most, or which team was the most disappointing, and which team was the most exciting for you two. So I guess we'll start off with Liam. We'll start with Liam.
Oh, all right. I think most disappointing for me, I think it was Arizona State. I picked Arizona State to upset in that game, but they were streaky, but they never put it together for any longer periods of time, which that's the only way they've been able to win games this year. And they ultimately were pretty unimpressive, especially in that second half. Just Kansas State was firmly in control at all times in that second half, and that was it never really looked close. Even though they brought it back at a few points, it did not look very close. Most impressive team for me, I think, Colorado is the obvious answer. I'm going to pivot, though. I'm going to go with Cincinnati. Cincinnati in the first game, they were all over Oklahoma State. They exposed Oklahoma State's biggest weaknesses. Their offense was firing on all cylinders, and they were a really impressive team to start off the day. Coming out here early to play as well. They got that early slot. Not a ton of fans in attendance, but they still made it work, and they looked like a very dominant and effective team in that game.
Yeah, I personally didn't pick Arizona State, and for good reason, as we saw. So, that wasn't necessarily a surprise to me, but like you said, Cincinnati, they played well. We called them the Lob City Bearcats because I think they had 4 alley-oops in that second half in quick succession. But for you, Leo, which team was the most exciting? Which team disappointed you the most?
Yeah, jumping straight into that Cincinnati game that we talked so much about already, I think Oklahoma State was the real big disappointment. Thinking they had the victory, you think they'd come in with a little more urgency, a little more care. Being the very first game in the morning seemed to may have got to them. They looked sluggish, they looked slow, and to be honest, they just looked like they really didn't care. They looked a little flat, and I would have liked to have seen a little more urgency or at least a little more effort to try to stay in the game against Cincinnati. But teams that looked positive, I think Kansas State looked really nice. I think that victory against Arizona State was a good one because they were able to hold off runs. Liam mentioned Arizona State being a team that is streaky. They got hot in that games, but they were able to cool them off and maintain. It's going to be an exciting day tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it definitely will be an exciting game tomorrow. For me, I personally thought that Kansas State was the most exciting. They came out the gate. I think they had 4 threes before Arizona State finally had to call a timeout in that first half. And while Arizona State made it close, Kansas State was able to separate. That was partially due to being in Kansas City. It was almost like a home game with how big this Wildcats crowd was. So they were the most exciting for me. As far as disappointment, OK State, I wasn't really impressed by them. TCU, I wasn't impressed by them. Arizona State, BJ Freeman, they were going through some things. But honestly, Utah, after the start that they had, they really slowed down. They had a lead over UCF in that first half, and in that second half, they came out real flat. So I'm not necessarily disappointed, but as far as just falling flat and falling on your face, Utah did not get it done by my standards. But looking ahead to tomorrow, we have some exciting games. Of course, we have Colorado versus Colorado versus West Virginia is a big one that we're looking forward to. So you guys, if you guys have some thoughts about that game, of course that's what the fans want to hear. But thoughts about any other games, we'd love to hear that as well. So we just started. We went to Liam last time, so let's go, Leo.
Yeah, I think looking at that Colorado game, this has upset written all over it. I think we kind of mentioned this coming into this week that we felt the win over TCU could be what propels Colorado, and they proved it today so far. Now, a lot of things they're going to have to clean up, like you mentioned, rebounding, turnovers. If the Buffs can clean those things up, I wouldn't be surprised if we get another down-to-the-wire game where it's anyone's game in the last 2 minutes.
Liam?
Yeah, I think with that game, the two-time CU hasn't been able to beat West Virginia at any point this season, and the biggest issue they've had in those games is just an inability to close the games out, and that was a big struggle they had earlier on in the year, and they've seemed to kind of turn a corner on that. These last 2 games, they've closed it out really effectively. It's been a close contest. The pressure's heating up, but they've still been able to. They've proved that they belong in the kitchen, and they've been doing really well in those incredibly intense environments. And so I think if you're going up against a team like West Virginia, and they've proved that they can play against calibers of teams like that, when it comes down the stretch, I think that's what's going to be most important, just closing it out how they have. I think the other game I'm most excited for tomorrow, I think Cincinnati and Iowa State. That's going to be a very, Cincinnati, again, my most exciting team from today. I really was impressed by them. And I think that if they go out, they could go out and give Iowa State quite the game tomorrow. I don't think Iowa State's fully going to be expecting it, and they've got that morning slot again, so that could play to their advantage.
Yeah, as far as the Buffs versus West Virginia, Javon Small will be the guy to look for because he had 26, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists in CU in the one meeting 2 months ago to the day tomorrow when the Buffs play them. He had that big performance in Boulder, leading to an 8-point win in that only meeting of the season. So he will be the player that I will be looking forward to see how he performs, because not only is he a solid basketball player, but his impact on the West Virginia offense is huge. He is leading the men's conference, all of Division I, in assist percentage at 35%. So he is a big part of that West Virginia offense. Like I said, he gets guys involved. He's not the most efficient shooter, but he gets guys involved. So stopping him and limiting him from shooting the ball and also getting guys involved, like I said a million times already, will be the big thing for Colorado. West Virginia isn't that great of an offensive rebounding team, so hopefully they have some better odds there. But West Virginia, they force a lot of turnovers. They average a decent amount of steals, so turnovers will probably be the big thing that Colorado have to take care of as they have had to look at most of this season. Turnovers have been a big issue. Not too many other games stand out. I think there's some decent matchups tomorrow. Of course, we're going to see some the teams that we didn't see today that got these first round buys. But no one out of that top 4 scares me too much. Anybody is beatable in this Big 12 conference, a very talented conference, as we've seen this year. So I'm looking forward to day 2. If you guys have any closing thoughts.
I would just say, it's going to be exciting. We mentioned Kansas State having a home crowd. Seeing if the Kansas fans, who are also, nearby within a couple hours of drive, being able to come up and show out, it's going to be exciting to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and for me, I mentioned earlier when we started off this morning, this first round is where these Cinderella teams are built, and I think we could have seen the birth of a few today. I think UCF, if they continue to play the way that they did, we could see them going down the stretch, and if CU continues to play the way that they have, West Virginia and Houston, both teams they've played incredibly close. They've got a path to the championship game, which is pretty crazy to say out loud with a 16 seed that's that has struggled as much as they have in conference play, but it is the truth, and so I think today showed that we could have some of those stories on our hands, and it's going to be very interesting to watch that unfold over the next couple days.
Yeah, it definitely will be the Big 12 tournament. We've been looking forward to it all season. And as you can tell by my speaking, we are all very tired by this first day. So we will go home and get some good rest, as the Buffs will, looking forward to their matchup versus West Virginia. As always, my name is Oliver Hayes from Buff Stampede, alongside Leo Rivera and Liam Howard from Scoba Sports. And you heard it here first.